Hi everyone, and welcome to Worth the Calories, a Great British Bake Off podcast. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Catherine.
This week here to talk about spooky baking Halloween week.
That's me being spooky.
That is, it's very spooky. Thank you. Don't be scared. We're here to get you through it. I don't know.
Halloween week. Why is it Halloween week this week? Why is it not Halloween week for them on the week where Halloween actually happens? Do you think they sort of misjudged when they were going to be scheduled?
I wonder if they didn't know when it was going to go live.
Yeah, maybe.
So they put it about midway, and that would come... Because the worst thing would be if this was like the 6th of November. Whatever day it's going to be, but post-Halloween.
Yeah.
In fact, next week would still be before, but the week after would be the 1st of November, maybe?
Along those lines.
Something like that.
Yes.
So
yes.
You know.
Yes, because the 2nd of November is a Wednesday.
Right. So yes, it's important that it's... You worked that out because of your birthday, didn't you?
Yes.
Which is not the 2nd, it's the 9th, in case everyone wants to know.
I can do 9 minus 7.
They'd have to get it in before, so I wonder if they sort of played the expectations.
Yeah, fair
You
enough.
said last week you thought it was going to be tenuous and not a great theme.
Oh, I was proper grumpy, wasn't I? Maybe, I don't know. I actually quite enjoyed this week.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, when they actually go all into it,
yes,
this is perhaps a better way to do themes than when they do, like, country themes, but also we're doing a British take on them.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this week.
I think next week might bear that out. Next week's custard week. So again, it's, that's an interesting theme because it's a range of different baking styles, but with a common element.
And also it's custard. I love custard.
Well, let's get through Halloween week.
Fair enough.
Our opening was to do an apple cake.
Yep.
That staple of Halloween, apple cake.
You bob for apples? I can buy it.
Yeah. You bob for apples, you don't eat apple cake.
I think this is possibly why I've just decided to embrace the concept of Halloween as a theme, because I really like apples. So an apple cake would make me very happy.
Yeah.
In fact, I really enjoyed all of the challenges this week. So yes, okay. I am now brought around. Halloween, bring it on.
I think the one that stood out when we watched it was Maxie's apple and walnut cake.
Oh, that was amazing, wasn't it? I would very happily have a big slice of that.
Yeah, it looked genuinely very tasty. And I'm not a huge fan of apples, so this was a slightly strange one, but that really did look good.
And just so precise and so neat. You can see it under a glass cloche going into an elegant tea room.
Mm.
Yeah, no, she really good. Really, really good.
A few people tried some stuff. I was really surprised as they went through the judging on it that most people didn't have enough apple flavour. I don't know. Yeah,
they got distracted by the non-apple bit.
Mm.
Maybe they were too busy trying to zhuzh their apple up,
right?
And focused on the bit that was not apple,
mm-hmm.
And didn't get enough apple in.
Yeah, so it was really interesting how they clearly had this thing, and when you think of apple, I think apple crumble is what comes to mind more than anything. Mm. So maybe it's that you need a lot of apple, and it's not the right sort of ingredient to put in a cake.
Possibly. Once again, I think Shabira did the most interesting approach. I'm not entirely sure I can really picture what hers would taste like.
You have to remind me what hers was.
So she did apple, sour plum and chili. And she got a handshake. Yes. So it must have been amazing.
She had chili in there, and everyone was a bit like, oh, perhaps not, but she measured it just right. Again, when she hits her flavours, she gets it spot on.
Spot on. Mm. But I just can't... Apple, sour plum, and because I know sour plum, presumably it's the same sort of sour plum as they have in Japan, and that's like really sour.
Okay.
But maybe it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, those are a couple of very different sorts of flavour.
Yeah, and then I'm like apple and chili.
And this is the thing, when it comes off, bravo.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm. So interesting times. I would ask you, what sort of apple cake would you have made? But I suspect the answer is none.
Yeah, because there's also a slight sense that it was just cake with apple in it, and then you had to come up with interesting fillings or something along those lines. I wonder if perhaps I would have not put apple in the cake and gone for like an apple jam. Presumably you can make jam from apples. Some sort of filling along those lines. I don't know how you would, but introduce the flavour in other ways. Can you candy apple slices?
Oh, I bet that'd be nice.
And again, put them on top, segmented up and something like that. Did you have any thoughts on what you might have done?
Well, I haven't made it for a very long time because you don't really like apples. But when I used to quite a lot make it was. I don't know what its real name is, but I think of it as apple crumble cake. Okay. And it's kind of like a sponge base and then sliced apples in the middle, a la apple pie, and then a sort of an apple crumble topping.
Nice.
Just baked in the oven. And that always used to be it's not like a hugely extravagant cake,
right?
But it was always very nice, really easy to make, very reliable, and just very nice with a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So
nice.
I'm a bit more about the day-to-day baking. That's probably what I'd make.
That sounds very nice, actually.
Make an apple cake.
Yeah, could I have done an argument to go for a flavour I want and do a pineapple cake?
I could try it.
But they probably wouldn't have accepted that as part of the brief, would they?
No.
It's got apple in it. It's just a pineapple.
I don't think that works.
Our technical was s'mores, which are not a British thing.
No,
I know of them from American pop culture and osmosis.
And I'm sorry, we did s'mores with the brownies this summer.
Right.
The sticky creations that we did over around the brownie campfire were not quite as elegant as Paul Hollywood's s'mores from the Bake Off.
I bet, yeah. I like it as a challenge. I think it's really good because it's testing making a biscuit, making marshmallow, making chocolate ganache.
Yes.
Chocolate ganache obviously doesn't need to be tested, but getting everything within the timing. Because I think the timing was not too tight, but also not too generous. They had to stay on target. Marshmallow is incredibly hard, although by and large they did okay. But testing each aspect of it, I really appreciated. The biscuit element was to make digestives. And I did this. I made digestives. Yeah. I said at the beginning of the series that I would be interested in making something like a hobnob. And digestives are not too far off. And I enjoyed the process.
Good.
I think I would do it differently the next time. I added slightly too much milk in it, and the dough ended up a little bit soggy, so I had to chill it for longer and add a bit more flour to it. But that's just a bit of experience in doing it. I didn't have a press, so I didn't do the press, and I think I cut mine smaller than theirs. But by and large, the making of it was okay. It was making a biscuit, and the nice thing is we're in practice of doing these things now, so knew where the rolling pin was.
Was there anything specific that was different about it?
We used the food processor.
Do we have one of those?
Yeah. Do you know what? And I was looking at it a couple of weeks ago thinking, we never use that. I should probably just get rid of it. And I thought, no, let's get through Bake Off and see how we go. And it needed the food processor because the wheat germ, of which we now have a kilo of wheat germ in, and the wholemeal flour, you put them in the food processor and got them to a fine flour.
Oh, okay.
And then added other ingredients to them.
Right.
I suspect I could then have, once I had that flour, have then done it by hand, rubbing in the butter to get breadcrumbs, and then adding the liquid element. So it feels like it's a fairly normal biscuit creation.
Yeah.
But use the food processor.
I wonder if... given that they stamped it, and on the show the sort of the pattern that the stamp made held, I wonder if this would be a good biscuit mix to use with that Totoro rolling pin. I absolutely think so. Yes. I would be wary of how well it would come out because obviously it's not just because the biscuit's mottled. Yes. Because of the wheat germ and the wholemeal flour. So you might not get some of the definition out of it, but cutting it into shapes, definitely, this is a very good way to go. I think the biscuits came out quite nicely. It's slightly salty, but also there's no salt in anything else, and everything else is quite sweet. Yes. So I get it on doing this. I think if I was making just the biscuits, I'd tone that down a little. Yeah. However, s'mores aren't made with digestive biscuits.
S'mores traditionally are made with graham crackers.
Okay, what is a graham cracker?
A graham cracker, graham cracker,
Graham cracker.
graham cracker, y'all. Sorry to all the American listeners, but I will do the rest of the show like that if you like it.
Please don't.
A graham cracker is, imagine a rich tea biscuit
Yes, if I have to.
that had a child with a digestive biscuit.
Okay.
It's effectively like a digestive rich tea.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got
that.
the sweetness of the rich tea, but the sort of wheat germ element of a digestive.
Interesting.
So digestives are close to it.
Yep.
But it was also interesting that they went for a very British aspect rather than
Yeah.
trying to replicate the sort of
The
very
graham
American way of
cracker.
doing it. There's a lot of marshmallow in the middle of these.
It looks beautiful, though.
I'm very pleased with how they came out. This is the best marshmallow I've ever made.
Yes.
I feel like I didn't do the recipe quite right. Really strange thing on the recipe. It has you putting the icing sugar with some corn flour in it.
Mm.
Oiling, although I didn't use butter because we didn't have enough oil, so I rolled butter over the pan it sets in, and then you tip half the icing sugar corn flour mix and use that to coat the thing.
Okay.
So I think it would have coated it better if it had been oiled. Obviously, it stuck to the butter, but in a very thin layer. But it then made it very easy to get out.
Okay.
Because obviously the bottom of it was just sat on this icing sugar layer.
Nice.
That's fine. It then doesn't mention what to do with the other half of the icing sugar mixture.
Oh. So what did you do?
It's just forgotten. What I did with it is I put it in with the golden syrup, which I was replacing the corn syrup, and the caster sugar in the pan to heat them up.
Right.
Because you basically, to make this, is you whisk the eggs like a meringue, like you would do for meringue.
Yeah.
Rather than adding the sugar direct, it's a Italian, Swiss, whatever one,
Yeah.
where you heat something to have a melted sugar
Yes.
that you then pour in and mix in, so it's much sort of silkier.
Okay.
I put it in with the caster sugar and had a bit of corn flour in the caster sugar, and
Seems to have worked.
and it seems fine. You then once you've whisked that in and gotten it properly whisked into a nice silky texture, you then chop up the gelatin and start adding the gelatin in chunks. Possibly a touch too much gelatin. I really like the texture of how it's set.
Yeah.
Because it's bouncy and it's squidgy and it's not, when we've made it in the past, it's come out really rubbery. So I'm definitely on the right side of that. There's something in the flavour that I think is just a little fake. I don't know.
Well, I've polished off 2 today, so I would disagree. Work from home with s'mores. So I can't help thinking, because one of the first things we did when we decided to do, get into Bake Off, was the wagon wheels.
Yeah.
And I really feel like these s'mores are almost the same thing, just in a slightly different format, because it's biscuits, it's marshmallow, and it's chocolatey stuff. And when you think, well, okay, I'm talking for myself, but the rubbery clumps of awfulness that I produced as marshmallow compared to the marshmallow that you've produced for these, it's worlds away.
I should compare the recipes. I think that was designed to set more. I think it's supposed to be more of a sort of tearing marshmallow, where this is a very squidgy, biteable marshmallow.
Fair enough.
Because it's so thick. Like it genuinely is. It's quite thick.
Yeah, I mean, you'd get an achy jaw if it was as chewy as the stuff that we did for those wagon wheels.
So I probably should check the recipe. I will check the recipe, whether we talk about this separately. But I feel like this is designed to be softer.
Yes.
And I think it has come out really nicely. Like, I'm genuinely very pleased with
this. I quite like the whole sort of getting it to set and then chunking
cutting out of it. Again, like I say, I think I've cut it smaller. So this is why we end up with 9 and spare biscuits and spare marshmallow. It should be the same size cutter, so who knows?
It's good. Would you make it again?
I think I might make marshmallow. I think I might make digestive biscuits again.
Yep.
Or hobnobs, because I suspect they're not too different. I have a feeling probably for the hobnobs, I put oats in it. Might be the difference.
Yeah.
Possibly less flour, more oats, something along those lines. I think it's useful to know how to make this marshmallow.
Yes.
I could see times doing it. Would I do it for s'mores? Possibly. It made 9.
Yeah.
I suspect we could have changed some of this and done probably smaller ones, but in a bigger pan, because we do have a bigger pan, and made 16.
Yeah.
Or even more, and had a nice selection of them.
Yes. Yes.
It didn't feel as exhausting or arduous as some of the other stuff we've had to do, but I can absolutely see why this was a good challenge, because it was tasked with, right, get the biscuits ready, get the biscuits chilling, now do the marshmallow, now get that setting. You know, it's how can you do each of these constituent parts and then bring it together. And as we saw, some people couldn't quite get the timings on it right, and there were variations in how they baked, how they cut, how they presented. So it's a simple challenge, but it's the start of them saying, right, you lot are the top 50% of the finalists who made it.
Yep.
So now you've got to be precise and deliver really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very pleased to have done it. They've come out. This is probably the closest to what the final product should be.
Yes.
That I think I've ever achieved in 5 years. So I'm quite pleased with these now. Our showstopper was edible hanging Halloween piñata lanterns.
It was really...
Just like Mum used to make.
What? Would I be allowed to just carve out a turnip?
Fine. I'm not so sure about the hanging and smashable aspect of it. Maybe goodie box but again, they're trying to task people more and more to make it harder, because we're all better bakers now.
It was a hard challenge. Having it being constructed to be robust enough to hang,
but easy enough to smash.
That's quite hard.
That's a narrow window.
Yeah. So can I just say,
go on.
I love the fact that Janusz used was it crickets?
Yes.
In his.
Yes.
Good for him.
Bravo.
Good man.
And bravo to Prue for understanding what it was and being able to talk about it, and the ability on Channel 4 to say they're very ecologically sound, and you know we're in a climate crisis, and there is a thing in 10 years where insects are much more common as part of a diet,
and good protein.
Exactly. So I'm not planning to go out and do it myself, you know, but it's really interesting to see this in such a mainstream way.
Yeah. I've had a caramelised cricket in the past.
Well done, you.
It was fine. Tasted of caramel.
Yeah, well, exactly. Were there any of the designs that you liked that you thought did well for it?
I think Shabira's spider was amazing, and I felt a bit sorry for Kevin, because his spider just looked so lame next to Shabira's. Yeah. Sorry, Kevin.
I mean, he very clearly knew he was at risk this week, and at the end of it, I think we both thought it was likely to be Dawn who left, but would have understood Kevin.
Yes,
you know, wouldn't have had a complaint, so.
Exactly. What did Dawn do? I can't quite remember. Remind me. Sorry.
So Dawn did the cat.
Oh,
I think in a witch's hat that wasn't hanging. So then they hung it up and broke it. But I don't think the biscuit was very good, and her contents were not great.
She just didn't have a good week, did she?
No, not a great week, and there was definitely a feeling of Kevin is at least trying and pushing it out, whereas I think with Dawn it was. This is where Dawn's journey ends. This is as far as she's able to go.
Because she struggled a bit last week as well,
Yeah, she's had a couple of weeks of just, she can't step on to where other people are going.
Yes. Yeah. I thought the spider was amazing.
Yeah.
I thought what Maxie was doing looked lovely, but she was clearly struggling a little.
It just couldn't quite come together. And I love that then in the end, because, Maxie and Shabira had kind of matched each other. I think had done equally well.
Yep.
But then Maxie's final challenge wasn't as good. And I think I really appreciate them not trying to force a competition. Oh, no, but we have to possibly consider this one that we actively didn't enjoy as much.
Yes.
And that they were ready to say, it is very clear there was one person who has stood out this week.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well done.
She's a proper good week.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
I liked that Sandro tried doing lots of different things to eat, and his interesting disco ball, where he tried lots of things last week and the globe came off.
Yes.
This week didn't quite all come together in the same way, but I like that he is really trying, and he is trying to show off and both learn and deliver.
Yes. I'm hoping he might make it to the final.
Yeah, there's definitely 4 or 5 of them. Obviously, however many we have left now. But something you go, I can't tell between them which of them won't make it now.
Yes.
So
yes. No, it's a good close knit pack.
Yeah. I love that they were dressed up. That was good fun.
Lots of fun.
Thought Maxie looked amazing as proper, just getting into the spirit of it. Interesting hairpiece. I loved Sandro's both makeup and wings.
Yes.
Again, what a great image of a guy not trying to play it cool, just being like, yeah, I'll get into this. Absolutely great. And Abdul was a astronaut for Halloween. Bless him.
Maybe he's watched Event Horizon recently.
Maybe he has. I mean, there was a chap at work today who's going to a Halloween party, and he and his girlfriend and his friend and their girlfriend are dressing up as the Teletubbies.
Oh.
Don't even think they're doing zombie Teletubbies or anything, so clearly Halloween is just fancy dress at this stage.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So that was Halloween week.
Yeah.
Actually, not as bad as we thought it might be.
It was good. It was good. I am converted.
Mm-hmm. Still no recipes for anything other than technical, and the technicals are all going to be available in the book at the end of the series. So I'm expecting the rest of the technicals to also be these kind of very accessible but challenging challenges and recipes.
Yeah.
A bit of a shame they're not listing the other ones.
Yeah, I wonder why.
I have written to the production company and asked, but I've not heard back. So yeah.
I wonder if it's cost cutting. Maybe it is cost cutting because I think you might have to have someone testing and writing up the recipes. To put them online.
Yeah. I mean, they do test bakes. I'm sure they do. So anyway, next week is custard.
Yes.
So you're looking forward to that one. We'll see if there are any we can make.
Pastel de nata. That's probably not even in next week, is it?
Because I think it might have been the ice cream one.
Okay.
Was the technical.
Right.
So maybe that's a frozen custard, effectively.
It did look green, though.
Yeah, it looked very green. And there was definitely a layer custard layer cake thing, which could be also very interesting.
Nice. Cool. Look forward to custard then.